What's up, football fans? Welcome to another episode of the Believe in Big Ten podcast, hosted or presented by FanDuel, I should say, here on the Believe Network. All with me, as always, Grant Perry. I'm Brandon Brown. Little rocky start there, Grant. I'm usually much smoother out of the gate. Hopefully, we can clean that up a little bit as we get into the meat of this thing. But last week, Grant, if you remember, we went through every game and did a little pick. Presented again by FanDuel. We looked at the spreads. Not a strong outing for us, man.
No.
Outing for us. And we talked about this. Spreads can be difficult. I sprinkled a little something on a money line parlay and did well. But the spreads did not, they were not kind to us, Grant. I went 2 for 6. I don't remember. We had a lot of similar picks, so I don't think you did much better, if at all. I don't know. Maybe did you go 500? I don't remember. We had a couple differences, but how'd you fare?
Loss. If Northwestern covered 6.5, no, they didn't. I think I lost every one.
Jeepers.
Woo, that's not great.
That's not great.
So
So
better though. These teams will start playing each other. We'll start getting a little better figure, on these teams.
We're gonna try again. We're gonna try again here this week with a not the greatest slate of games in terms of matchups. We're probably biased, but Michigan Wisconsin's probably the best game, dude. There's not a lot of great games this weekend. Michigan State Nebraska is kind of intriguing. I'll be tuned into that one. And we'll talk about all of them here in a minute. But yeah, last week the only one I got, the only two that I got, Ohio State minus 8.5. And honestly, early on, I didn't think that one was going to happen either. Washington was making some plays. They kind of hung in there. I texted you. I'm like, look at our boy, dude. Damon Williams out there running around. Maybe Ohio State's in trouble. They ended up winning. I think it was 24-6 or 24-8. They ended up pulling away. And then Oregon plus 3.5 obviously got the win. And I think I did pick the Ducks to win outright. I thought, it would be a very tough game, and it was. Went to overtime. Dan Lanning juiced out of his gourd. We'll leave the discussions right there for the people who may have seen on social media what people are thinking about him. But he was very pumped up. Oregon got the win. Dude, did you really go 0 for 6? I didn't think that's what it was. I thought we both got at least a couple right.
There's only one way to go from 0 and 6, though. I'm not going to guarantee you I get one next week, but I can promise you there's a good chance I finish better than 0 and 6. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's rough. And I mean, when you're looking at the spreads, they're pretty much all 50-50. I mean, the odds are what they are for a reason. We were talking about this before we started recording. The way that the cappers and the way that Vegas come up with these numbers and these lines and how good they seem to do and how they don't seem to ever lose money, but we sure as hell do. And there you go. 2 for 6 for me. I didn't think you did. You went 0 for, Grant. We're just gonna pack that one away and try to improve this week on week 6. So
onward and forward, brother.
Let's start right at the top with that Michigan-Wisconsin game. Grant, as a former Wolverine, myself as a Michigan fan, and I've been covering the team for more than 10 years. I'll be in the house, excited to be back in the big house this weekend for the game against Wisconsin. Noon kickoff. Everything kind of feels right. You got Wisconsin coming to town, a noon kick. Weather's supposed to be pretty good. I think it's been glorious outside for the last week or so. Does not feel like October, even though as we're recording, it is October 1st. But the Wolverines are favored by 16.5, Grant. That's a pretty big number for a Michigan team that's, as we talked about, still trying to find their identity through the air a little bit. They look to be able to run the ball pretty well against just about anybody. They were very strong in that area against Nebraska on the road. Wisconsin's been struggling. They were our pick for a disappointing team in the Big Ten this year. So that number is minus 16.5 per FanDuel, Grant. How do you feel about that mark? Because that's 3 scores, man. That's pretty big in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no, that is a big margin of victory. And especially with a team, Michigan has a loss and obviously Wisconsin has 3 losses. But I think when you look at Wisconsin and how they're coming into this game, they're pretty wounded, they're pretty beat up, and it just doesn't seem like things are going too well in Madison. From what I read, they rushed their quarterback Billy Edwards back last week, ended up leaving the game early. I think Fickell went on record saying, and I think we really should have kind of waited and maybe we rushed him back. So that leads me to believe he's probably not going to play. Aiden O'Neal, I think Aiden O'Neal is there. I think Danny O'Neal.
There you go.
Their backup.
I don't even know. Here's the thing. I don't even know who their quarterback is, bro. I know they've had injuries there and they're playing a couple of guys, but that's not a great sign heading into week 6.
So it's Danny O'Neal, and he's played a lot of the season, but again, he left last game injured as well. So question marks on him. They're starting running back Dylan Jones also left last game. Their center is questionable, and also their leading interception defensive back safety Preston Zachman, I believe. So they're struggling. And I think Michigan has the opportunity to kind of kick them while they're down, if you will, respectively. And I think that if there's anything that's going to come of this game, I think we're going to see a little bit of awakening in the pass game. I think this is the game to do it.
Okay, I am personally staying away from the spread, Grant, and I don't usually do this because I don't like.
Oh yeah, I didn't even. I'm going to take Michigan spread. Sorry,
okay.
I didn't even. I'm going to take Michigan spread.
I kind of figured I was gonna. I know you didn't say it exact. I was gonna come back and get a direct pick, but Grant likes Michigan minus 16.5. I'm actually going to take the over at 43.5. I think Michigan could score 35 plus by themselves in this one. You mentioned Wisconsin being banged up on defense. You mentioned Michigan getting right maybe through the air. They are getting healthier. They're off a bye. I mean, I think both of them are off a bye, if I'm not mistaken, actually. So a little bit of getting healthy for both teams, but I'm with you. And like I said, it's at home. It's noon. I believe it's homecoming for Michigan as well. So it's just it's got to feel like Michigan is ready to take off a little bit. And Grant, I was at the press conference today, and I talked to Coach Martindale was out there, Coach Kasula was out there, and they both just kind of had like this undertone of confidence, and they both used the term "we're going to take off." They both kind of had this feel like we've been pretty good. Yeah, bummer we dropped the one in Norman, but we liked what we did against Nebraska. We're getting a little healthier, and now it's time to take off. They both kind of had a sentiment like that. So as we talk through it a little bit more, that 16.5 number doesn't sound quite as scary, but I'm still going to take the over at 43.5. And Grant likes the Wolverines by 16.5. Also at noon, this was one that really kind of knocked me down last week, the USC-Illinois game. I really didn't know how to call that one, but Illinois this week is favored by 9.5 per FanDuel, Grant, going to Purdue. I know Purdue also struggling. They don't have a lot going for them. Illinois, maybe not as good as a lot of people thought, but I don't know, man. They get the last minute win against USC. I'm not really sure what to make of this Illinois team right now. I'm really not, but I'm going to take the Illini minus 9.5 going to Purdue. I feel like they should be able to handle the Boilermakers.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Illini as well. I am a little nervous. Their last road trip was to Indiana, and we saw how that played out. So hopefully they're not caught up on how they play on the road, because we saw last week they played a lot better and took down, I think USC was 23rd or 24th. So they beat USC. I'm going to roll with got a little bit of momentum. Brent Bielema throughout that past week, after Indiana, they really owned it, and he came forward and said, "We just have to own it, throw it away, and come back next week. The season isn't over. We have more games to play." And we got USC coming in, and they handle business. I mean, they won a tight game, but impressive nonetheless after, giving up 53 and only scoring 10 to Indiana. And we saw USC has played at Purdue as well. They were projected, I think, a little bit over 3 touchdown spread. They didn't cover, but they pretty much controlled that game. So I'm going to roll with the Illini minus 9.5 on that one.
Yeah, I mean, to Brent Bielema's credit, to the players, we talked about how that kind of loss can derail you for a minute and maybe for the year. I mean, that, losing 63-10 is not something that happens in conference play when you're a top. What they were 11th at the time or 9th? They might have been top 10. And to get boat race like that is really, really demoralizing. So, props to them for bouncing back and playing a pretty good USC team. Tough and down to the wire, and ultimately getting, I think, was a 2-point win, if I'm not mistaken. That field goal at the end, I think.
Yeah, I believe it was a 2-point win, 34-32.
Oh, there you go. So I just didn't think it would happen. I mean, I picked USC without much of a thought last week to cover the 6.5-point spread, and lo and behold, the Illinois Fighting Illini did just that. They fought and they got a win, and I think they will cover at Purdue against a not very good Purdue team. All right, shifting to the 3:30 hour, Grant. Penn State going out to UCLA. Again, we've talked about this East Coast, West Coast travel thing that now happens in the Big Ten. Can be tricky. Well, the Cappers in Vegas do not see this as tricky. They got Penn State, bro, by 24.5. Now, we know that UCLA has been bad. They're 0-4. They fired their coach. They don't look they might not win a game. I mean, we talked about that last week when you look down the rest of their schedule. That's a huge number. I don't care. I'm taking Penn State. I'm taking Penn State to cover 24.5, man. That's UCLA. It's on fire out there. That's not a good look.
Yeah, that's a big spread, and you hate when it's you're a team that you usually have to play each year. Like that's in a conference opponent. Like this isn't you're not a team that's coming in getting paid to play. Like you're hosting these guys, and they're probably gonna put belt to booty, if you will. So I'm gonna roll
B to A,
A, man. I'm gonna take Penn State in this one. I have hesitation only because last year when they played at Penn State, and UCLA played them somewhat close. Like they were in the game for a while, and Penn State kind of did what they do and they pulled away late. But UCLA was a little bit more with it. When I watched that game this year, I think the tires have fallen off. I think the roof is blown off, and I just don't think the foundation's there. I think maybe they make it a close game in the first quarter, but I think Penn State, with especially that heartbreaking loss, I got to imagine, James Franklin is like, hey, we just got devastated. Like we need to go devastate somebody else to try to feel whole again. So I'm going to take Penn State minus the points in this one too.
Man, it's so interesting that you say that, because I do think there's a couple different ways to approach this one. Yes, they want to get back after it. They have a bad taste in their mouth. They lost a close game at home, the whiteout. I mean, everything was there for them to beat Oregon on that big stage, overtime. Lots of different reasons why they could have and should have won that game, and they didn't. So maybe it is that what you said. Wow, just chomping at the bit. Can't wait to get back out there and just put it to somebody. Or they're just spent. I mean, I think it could go either way. So this one is tough. I mean, I could see a situation where Penn State gets up by 17, 20, 21 and just coasts in. And then in that case, I wouldn't get my bet of covering the spread. But they're just so much better than UCLA that I think they could get out to a 30-point lead pretty quick and still do the coasting thing. So I'm with you. I'm on the Nittany Lions. I'll take Penn State to cover, even though the number is huge.
Now, let me ask you this. I know we're always looking forward here, but I do want to get your thoughts on Penn State versus Oregon.
Yeah.
What you thought of that game last week, and what are your takeaways?
I'll tell you what, dude. I love watching Dante Moore play football. I love, and that's a Detroit kid. That's a kid that I knew since he was in maybe 9th grade. When I was covering recruiting, and he was kind of one of the young kids in the city to get a lot of attention. What high school is he going to go to? He ended up going to Martin Luther King. Michigan wanted him. Michigan State wanted him to stay home, and he goes out to UCLA first, actually, and gets to play as a true freshman for Chip Kelly. I mean, like it was just. And now he's at Oregon. He kind of bought his time a little bit behind Dylan Gabriel, and that kid's got ice water in his veins, man. He didn't look – I mean, you couldn't tell by looking at him, like, is it 4th and 15? Is it 1st and 10? Are you winning? Are you losing? So that was cool to see from a personal standpoint, just because I know him and I've gotten to know him over the years. But it's just when the game was over, Aller throwing the game – you hate to put – it's not on him, but he threw the pick to lose the game in overtime, essentially. I was just like, there's Penn State. There's James Franklin. There's Drew Aller. All the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the season, man, where you're like, are they going to turn the corner? Are they going to find that next step? Are they going to have what it takes to win the biggest of big games when they normally don't? And again, they didn't. It just felt like, dude, if you're a Penn State fan, you must just be so sick of these kinds of finishes because it was a good game between two good teams, and it was back and forth. And you would think at home, with your veteran quarterback, with your stud running backs, that you could seal a game like that, and they just couldn't do it. And, again, shout out to Dan Lanning and Oregon and Dante Moore and the guys making plays for the Ducks. But I think if I'm looking at that game unbiased and I don't have a dog in the fight, I think, not to take away from Oregon, but it feels like Penn State lost it as opposed to Oregon going to get it. And I know they made some plays in overtime, and Dante Moore made some very clutch throws, but as the home team with that roster that you have, you got to find a way to win that game if you're Penn State, and they couldn't.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed with what we saw from Penn State. And leading up to that game, a lot of the talk was like, hey, okay, Penn State has been playing these FCS, they haven't played really anyone yet. Maybe the lack of offense is due to, maybe Kolanecki doesn't want to open up the playbook just yet. Maybe he's saving it for this Oregon game. And it just doesn't seem like a good marriage, man. Because like Drew Aller, he's talented, but I haven't seen progression, and it blows my mind that the running game has gotten worse, it seems, as well. Like that was something that they could really count on. And they had 300 yards last time they played Oregon on the ground. And you could really tell that Dan Lanning and that staff made a big emphasis to really choke off their main life source, which is the run game. And Katron Allen had some good runs, but they really bottled up Nicholas Singleton, and really tried to make Drew Aller beat him. And that really isn't the formula for them. And we saw that. And I don't know if it's system or whatnot. Like, I could see Aller performing better in a true pro style offense where he's under center. We're running, traditional power counter, and then we're play actioning off it. Kind of almost a Michigan style offense where a lot of things are married. But it's just the receivers couldn't get open. Like you flip the tape on the other side, and they got the freshman number one. How do you say? I forgot how you say his first name, but last name Moore, the really good receiver for Oregon.
For Oregon, DeCorian Moore. Yep.
DeCorian Moore, yeah. So DeCorian Moore, like he's getting open. Number 2 for Oregon was getting open. The tight end, Oregon gained a lot of respect in my book. They went down there, won that game, and really just showed, hey, like we'll go anywhere and win. And then I'm my stock on, obviously I just picked them to win by 24.5, but my stock on Penn State is dropping. Just they just don't. It's the same story again. And my predictions coming in this year where, hopefully it's going to turn the corner, but it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Couple things you said there that I find really interesting. One, it almost never happens where a quarterback is somehow better in the pros. Drew Aller might be that kind of guy for all those reasons you just said. He's got the body, he's got the athleticism, he's got the arm strength, but you're right. He's just not progressing. It's not clicking for whatever reason. This system is just not good for him. And then you get into the pros where stuff is the field shrinks a little bit. Guys are bigger, stronger, fat. I don't know. Like I said, it typically doesn't happen. Like if you're not that good at something in college at quarterback, it's going to compound and get worse in the pros. Like that's just how it goes. But you do see every once in a blue moon where a guy is just better suited for that kind of structure, and he might be that kind of guy. And the other thing, interesting or upsetting, or just go ahead and piss me off, whatever it is, I had a 3-leg parlay over on FanDuel. Nicholas Singleton to score a touchdown. Nicholas Singleton to rush for 40 yards. Drew Aller to throw for 150. None of those things happened. How
you should have hit me up because my buddies were like, I'm going Nicholas Singleton. I'm like, dude, Katron has been their guy. Like he's got a little bit less carries, but he's got way more explosive plays and way more yards. So I would have tried to tell you on that one. But the Aller, I mean, you think 150, like big game, like 10, 15-yard throws. Like, hey, just make it happen. Find a way. But yeah, what do they finish with? 147 yards.
Yeah, not strong.
That's not great. Not great. And I saw a funny tweet that it was you can't be a bad quarterback developer and a bad play caller. Like taking a shot at the fact that they let Bo Prabula walk out. But in reality, the system that they're running, you got to think Kolanecki, the offensive coordinator, came from Kansas. Bo Prabula is a version of Jalen Daniels down there at Kansas. Like that's who you need at that quarterback spot in this offense, because there's a lot of gimmicks. And when you see stuff breaking down and Aller's eyes aren't in the wrong place and he's kind of panicking, like he doesn't have that athleticism to make a play out of nothing. And I think that's really what they're missing.
Where did he go? Where did Prabula transfer to?
He's down there killing it at Mizzou. They're 4-0. They beat Kansas. They just beat South Carolina. They're rolling.
Or a dual threat guy can make some plays. Yeah.
He's balling. He's playing like top 5 right now of quarterbacks. Like he's putting up some good numbers.
Good for him. I mean, good for him. You recognize that you're not fitting somewhere, and go make your money somewhere else. That's what a lot of guys are trying to do. All right, this next game figures to be much closer, Grant. I'm actually pretty intrigued by this one. Washington coming east. We talked about this a lot. Washington coming east to take on Maryland, and the Huskies are favored by 6.5. I'm gonna roll with the Terps. Freshman quarterback Malik Washington's been making plays. I'm going with the Terps to cover. I do think Washington will win, but I think the 7-point or 6.5-point spread is too big. Give me the Terps. Give me the Terps and those points, man, because I like what they're doing. They're going to be fighting at home. They're going to be. This is like mid-tier Big Ten teams trying to make a case for themselves, and I think Maryland's going to want to do that at home. Give me the Terps.
I like it. I think I'm leaning Terps as well. And I just realized I knew Jed Fish was there. This is the battle of former Michigan OCs. We got Pep Hamilton calling plays on one side, and we got Jed Fish on another. So yeah, I got a lot of interest in this one. I do like the Terps, plus that 6.5, especially with them being at home. We've seen them on the road. I mean, they went to Wisconsin and really gave them some BTA. That's what gives me a little bit of confidence about Michigan being able to cover that spread in that game. But when I look at this game, what's the over at? I'm interested in that over.
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Let me back up. No,
Sorry, I thought you had it up. That's
I didn't. The only over under I wrote down was that Michigan one because I liked it, and I was like, I'm going to go with that as opposed to the spread. I got it right here. I just had to back out for a second. Of course, it sends me to baseball because that's what's going on right now. Over under in that one's 53.5. Grant, how do you feel about that number? There's going to be points scored in that one.
Yeah. Mm.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah, 25 apiece, but like they score, man. They do score both of them.
31-28 would get it done.
Dude, I'm going over, dude. It's my OCs, man. It's my former OCs. I'm going over. Give me 54 as the total. Come on,
write that down. I'm circling it and I'm writing Grant next to it. We're gonna revisit that one. And what was the thought process right there? I saw the wheels turning. You were doing a little bit of math.
Yeah, I always whenever it's above the total's above 50, my mind always goes, all right, each team has 25 and 25. Now, what does it take to cover the rest? Like that's where my mind goes. I'm like, what's the score? And then I'll go, all right, but let's subtract. Let's go now, 20, 18 to 31. Let's see what that looks like. And so that's where my brain starts working.
So what final do you feel like you got to? What did it look like in your head? I mean, there's that. Are we diving?
Oh yeah. We're at like a 31-28.
Yeah, that's 59 points. You'd be good on that. You'd take that all day, and that would feed in. That would play into kind of how I see it too. Like if that is, Washington's still getting the win, they're not covering. They're scoring a lot of points. Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah, because I think Maryland's going to score at home. I think Washington they lost. I mean, 2 quarters in, they lost 2 of their best linebackers versus Ohio State. Maybe a D end. I could be mistaken, but they lost 2 really good players on defense in that game. And I got to imagine. I mean, I know Jed. Like he's gonna They scored 2 field goals. Like he's going to be trying to score points this weekend. So give me the over, and I feel good about it.
What it was? They finished with 6. I couldn't remember if it was 6 or 8, but yeah,
6. Did you see that fake field goal too?
I actually didn't watch that one. I don't know why. I don't remember what it was that I was doing. That
dude, it was
seeing that one, but yeah,
it was bad. Like Washington, it was still a close game. I think it was first quarter. Washington's in Ohio State territory, about to kick a field goal. Like it's probably 4th and 5. So like if you want to go for it, you're in an area where you feel like you could probably convert. But they rush the field goal out there, and then they run a fake, and in the end, that man on line of scrimmage goes out just to block. And
I did see that. He thought it was a run.
The holder is just running, trying to throw it. I'm like, oh my god, like Ohio State's going to cover. Like
yeah, the tight end. I assume he was a tight end, or it didn't even never looked. Yeah, back of his head was facing the thrower. I guess it would have been the kicker the whole time. Yeah, I did see that as you started talking about it. It reminded me.
So give me them to clean that up, and I'll take the over in that one.
All right, there you have it. All right, moving on to this. We won't spend a lot of time on this one. It's the only non-Big Ten, all Big Ten matchup. Obviously, Northwestern is in the Big Ten. They are hosting UL Monroe. Northwestern is favored by 10.5. I don't know a thing about UL Monroe, dude. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know much about them, but give me Northwestern to cover at home against an FCS opponent. I don't know. Northwestern's not great either. They don't score a lot of points. I know that, but at home against an FCS team, you gotta take care of business. So give me the Wildcats on this one.
Yeah, I'll second you on that one.
Moving on to I'm intrigued by this one, Grant. I like this one. We've seen Nebraska up close and personal against Michigan. Obviously, some in-state interest with the Spartans at 4:00 on FS1. Michigan State going to Nebraska. So we saw Nebraska host Michigan. It was pretty back and forth. Michigan had a bonehead play right before halftime to make it closer than it probably needed to be. But Nebraska is favored by 10.5 over Sparty at home. I went back and forth on this one quite a bit. I really did. That 10.5 number is kind of big, but I think I'm going to take the Huskers at home. That environment was a lot. I do think Michigan is much more talented than Nebraska. I don't know if Michigan State is. I'm gonna be wrong on this one. Michigan State will probably cover the points, might even win the damn thing. I don't know, but I'm gonna take Nebraska to cover 10.5. Dylan Raiola doing his best Patrick Mahomes impression, whatever he's doing out there. the kid can throw the football, man. There's no denying that, and I think that will be too much for Michigan State's secondary to handle. Give me the Huskers minus 10.5.
I like that pick. I'm leaning Huskers as well. I'm going off of Michigan State's game where I watched them on the road at USC, and I think that was 18.5. And they were in the game for the first half. Like if the game ended in the first half, they had it covered for most of it. But as that second half went on, kind of fatigue started setting in. The run game wasn't working, so therefore, USC was able to kind of just sit on the pass game. I think it probably trends in that direction again. I could see Nebraska getting a quick 10-0 lead, using that stadium and that atmosphere to really help them out, especially, coming off of a bye week and a week prior to that where they all have a sour taste in their mouth. Another school named Michigan coming into our stadium. Yeah, I'm going to take Nebraska as well. I could see Michigan State keeping it, within, 14-10 most of the game. And then I can see this, late, just Nebraska's defense able to just, kind of clamp down.
Yeah, I do feel like this one really could be pretty back and forth. I do. But I think at home, I think that crowd gets going. Like you said, if Nebraska gets any sort of a lead, I think that could be tough for Aiden Childs, tough for the Michigan State offense. So yeah, give me the Huskers, but I'm not real okay. Well, I'll put it this way: if I'm making real bets, I'm staying away from this one. I just don't like it. I don't really have a firm grasp on what I really think was going to happen. But I will circle Nebraska minus 10.5. Last but not least, the 7:30 nightcap game on NBC. Grant, we have Minnesota coming to Columbus, and we've got Ohio State minus 23.5 per FanDuel. Give me the Buckeyes. I don't think Minnesota's that good. I think Ohio State at home after going out west, they're gonna love being back in the shoe, and it's at night, and they're gonna put it all over PJ Fleck and company. I think it could get ugly.
Yeah, I was trying to give Minnesota the benefit of the doubt, but I'm looking back and I'm seeing them, they win a tough one at home versus Rutgers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to lean Minnesota, but then I looked at the time as well. And, the shoe at night is a different beast as well. I've never played in there at night, but played there during the day, and that's hard enough. So at night, I think we saw, Tennessee firsthand last year try to attempt that, and that didn't look too good. So give me Ohio State. I think they're trying to, they're starting to find that rhythm again. Their defense is looking really good. Patricia's doing some really fun things on the defensive side. So yeah, give me Ohio State to cover on this one.
It's a huge number, but I'm rolling with the Buckeyes minus 23.5. Like you said, at night in the shoe, yeah, Minnesota could be in for a rough one that game. There's over the years, the really good teams on offense, they seem to have, one or two, maybe you get to 3 times during the season where they just jump all over somebody and it's 24-0 at the end of the first quarter. I feel like it could be that kind of game. I don't know why. Haven't watched a lot of Minnesota. I was just looking back. Yeah, 31-28, close win over Rutgers. They let me down. I had them picked to win by more than 4.5. They couldn't do it. I didn't think that Rutgers was that great. I don't think Minnesota's that great either. Yeah, give me the Buckeyes right there, minus 23.5. With that being said, though, Grant, Ohio State is no longer the betting favorite to win the Big Ten. That title now belongs to Oregon at plus 155. Again, all of these lines you can find over at FanDuel. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan now all better than plus 1,000 odds. You've got Oregon and Ohio State by far and away thought to be the best teams in the Big Ten. Oregon at plus 155, Ohio State at plus 165, Penn State is plus 700, and Michigan is plus 950. After that, there's a pretty big drop-off. I can't remember who the 5th team was. I didn't write all 5 down, but
USC.
There you go.
Or 1, 2, 3. No, Indiana. Sorry, Indiana.
That's not. I think they were plus 1,200. I think that's
13.
1,300. Okay, there you go. So Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State. If you want to go with the top 3, Michigan under that plus 1,000 mark, and then you throw Indiana in there for the top 5. Thoughts on that, Grant? I mean, is Oregon in the driver's seat at this point after going to Happy Valley and getting a win? You kind of mentioned Ohio State hitting their stride a little bit. It feels like that at this point in the season. Is it? Let's make this into a 2-parter. Is it Oregon and Ohio State and then everybody else? Or do you throw a little bit more love to one of these other teams? Does Penn State still have a shot? How do you feel about Michigan and young Bryce Underwood? Indiana doing what they're doing. I know it wasn't super pretty last week, but Mendoza still looks like the real deal. There's your top 5.
Yeah, I mean, Obviously, I think Oregon and Ohio State definitely have, the advantage. Both those teams are obviously still undefeated, along with Indiana as well. I think Indiana out of those 5 is my sleeper. I think I mentioned I sprinkled a little bit after that Illinois game for them to win the Big Ten. Just a long shot. And you talk about their win last week. I mean, and again, Kinnick is a tough place to play.
Yeah,
I
we
would
talked
have
about
seen
that.
them, if play a little bit stronger. But I mean, they went to the wire, and when you go to the wire with Iowa in Iowa, like those are games that you usually lose. He had a huge throw at the end to Elijah Surratt to win it. I feel good about Indiana. I think they're in contention. They have Oregon on the schedule, and I believe Penn State. So like if they beat Oregon, man, anything's open. But I'm leaning Oregon, Ohio State. I think Michigan, the door is there for Michigan too, though. Like,
Yeah,
walking Ohio State with 1 loss, but you have to have, like, Ohio State's going to have to lose. Well, no, an outright win versus Ohio State would put them in, but Oregon's going to have to lose. Michigan's going to have to roll into November 29th with 1 loss. But yeah, I don't know. My take on all of them, kind of.
yeah. I do think it's probably. I think it looks pretty good. I don't really have a beef with Oregon and Ohio State being at the top by quite a bit. I think Penn State is still a good team. It was a good game. I mean, I think they fumbled it a little bit against Oregon, but I mean that was a competitive game. And then Michigan's intriguing. Bryce Underwood's going to get better and better each week. The run game's coming around. The defense is nasty. We'll see what that looks like. And then Indiana's just kind of fun. I mean, it's the Fighting Signettis. It's Mendoza throwing it around the yard. Not too many teams are going to be able to boast a 53-point win in conference this year. And Indiana can already, beating up on Illinois. So yeah, very interesting to look at the odds there for the Big Ten champion. Oregon sitting at the top at plus 155. Grant, we're 32 minutes in, man. We always do it. We physically cannot keep it to 24 minutes, dude. We just love ball. Too much, man.
I'm looking again at I think this Big Ten is Oregon's to run away with it, dude. Like I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. Like Indiana, they got Indiana here. I think not this weekend, but next weekend. Like that's going to be a good game. But other than that, their biggest opponents are going to be USC and then at Washington. Like I see them undefeated. And then I really had wished Oregon and Ohio State played in this season. Like that'd be a great matchup. But yeah, I'm going to lean Oregon now that I'm looking at these schedules. Like Ohio State's still got to get past Michigan at the end of the year, and that's something they haven't done. So I'll lean Oregon to wrap it up.
So in short, Oregon at the top makes sense. Grant likes them sitting up there. Again, we went through – I wish we had a great record to come off of last week, but we don't. But going back and listen to the episode, listen to what we talked about, why we picked what we picked, and we'll revisit this stuff again next week. So he's Grant Perry. I'm Brandon Brown. Thanks to everybody for listening. Enjoy the Big Ten slate this weekend.